welcome back to the Rosevear YouTube channel. You may notice that we are definitely not in one of our shops.
We are in a great location. We're quite close to one of the shops. We're close to the Broughton Street location. We're at the top of Leaf Walk, opposite Valvona and Crolla, just down the road from the St. James Quarter. And we're here to talk about kombucha. So that's our subject today. We're here at Spry Wines for the filming, and there's also Ante underneath that we'll show as well, which is the place where you can drink tea and coffee and kombucha, of course.
So obviously I need to introduce our third person today. This is James. We're very pleased to have him discussing the kombucha. You make the kombucha here and work in Ante downstairs, I believe.
Yes, I joined the team last summer, and I've been making kombucha here for about 3 or 4 months now.
And we are drinking one of James's kombucha creations, a very, very interesting one, made with lapsang and bergamot. So it's almost a smoky Earl Grey kombucha.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about how you made this one?
Yeah, sure. So this is a lapsang tea brewed to make kombucha during the first fermentation stage, and then with bergamot added in the second fermentation just before carbonation.
Nice. And what kind of form of bergamot did you use?
So we used some of the flesh and juice that we had available. Being at Spry and Ante, we have access to such nice ingredients. So it's always really fun to have such opportunities to make exciting combinations.
Nice.
So let's try it. Let's see the results.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, and both the bergamot, the citrus, and the lapsang come out very strongly. And it's very refreshing. It's got that tang of a kombucha.
That's very strong. I think, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bergamot in there as well.
Yeah,
but you have a proper, like, bitter smokiness underneath. That's
absolutely
really nice.
Mm.
When did you get the idea for this one?
So I tend to come up with the ideas for flavors each batch of kombucha that I have available. So when I think that a kombucha is about 2 days or so off of being ready, I'll start to think, okay, what do we have available? What would go nice for our lapsang kombucha? What will be nice for our oolong kombucha? And start to prepare things like that. So I made this on the 19th of this month. So yeah, thought of it just before then.
Okay.
I'll show a little picture of the date on there. That's nice. Very cool.
There'll be more on this in the next video, but we also saw the flavors that were going to be used for the next batch of kombucha, which sound delicious.
And of course, you have a very wide range of teas from your local tea shop, just up the road.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to use different teas from Rosevear and just have the opportunity to have a taste, see what makes a nice base, and then from that think what flavors can complement them additionally. Yeah,
absolutely. It's really nice when James comes in and we can talk about different options. Perhaps we need to talk about what kombucha actually is. Now, as we say in our videos, we're not medical people. We're just talking about things that we've read, often from peer-reviewed journals, it has to be said. But kombucha is something that is very healthy, particularly for the gut microbiome, but also for other things as well. So you could think of this as a health drink. But I would like to know exactly what the history of kombucha is and what it is. So we'll ask James to tell us.
Absolutely, yeah. So kombucha began, I believe, in China several thousand years ago. I'm not sure how it managed to start, who kind of either accidentally found the process or did some work to find it. But yeah, it's been developing since then. And then in the past century, it's kind of blown up across the West as well. And yeah, it's kind of taken over since then.
And just like other fermented products like kimchi and live yogurt, it's actually very, very good for us.
Yeah, it's always interesting to think about the origins of whichever product we're talking about each week, because we've talked about like lapsang having a kind of accidental creation. you should go check out that video if you haven't already. We've talked about smoky teas, but it was kind of an accidental thing where they had to get out of a factory very quickly and escape from Chinese soldiers or whatever the legend is. And they smoked the tea to dry it as quickly as possible. And then we all loved it. And now we have Lapsang Souchong kombucha. So very grateful for that weird event happening and creating something.
Absolutely, absolutely. So kombucha is a fascinating and very healthy drink. James, can you walk us through the kombucha process from start till finish?
Absolutely. So we start off by brewing tea very sweetly. So our recipe is 24 grams of oolong or 18 grams of lapsang for 240 grams of sugar. We're wanting to make a very, very sweet liquid so that the bacteria and yeast have the sugars available to ferment
Yes.
and develop.
Here is James putting the 24 grams of oolong tea and 240 grams of caster sugar in. Then he boiled the kettle and added in freshly boiled water to the mix and gave the whole thing a stir to dissolve the sugar, which was really satisfying to watch.
Once we do that, we add in a previous batch of kombucha. We let that ferment from anywhere from, during the summer, it was 4 or 5 days and it'd usually be ready. It's January now, and this batch was 10 days in the making.
So after straining the tea, James is adding the oolong back into the big kombucha jar. And we will talk more about this in part 2, but those weird looking things are the pellicle, and they're from the previous batch of kombucha, and he's adding that on, checking that it floats. And this was an odd process to watch as somebody that's never seen something like this before, but super interesting. And some of the previous kombucha is being added in on top, as well as a little bit more cold water.
It's quite
That's interesting. So that the weather, the temperature, the ambient temperature puts quite a big effect, actually.
Absolutely. So most fermentation has a sweet spot around 25 to 30 degrees. You can simulate that, but we haven't. We have it a few degrees lower than what's ideal for the bacteria and yeast to develop quickest, but it just means that it's a longer process, a slightly different result tasting-wise.
What are the difference tasting-wise for a kombucha that takes longer to make? Because obviously with bread, normally the bread is nicer when it's been fermenting for longer. Is it the same with kombucha?
Yeah, so it's hard to put into words really, but essentially the difference in time means that different types of bacteria have longer periods to proliferate. So for kombucha, the primary bacteria at play is acetic acid bacteria.
Yes, yes.
So the name of the bacteria which converts ethanol into acetic acid, allowing a longer time, encourages some other healthy bacteria to start to grow a bit more as well, and that will be there in the final product.
So we're talking a lot about fermentation today, and that made me think that, in fact, that's a word that comes up in the tea world outside of kombucha, where, in fact, there's a common misnomer in the tea world where people call black tea a fermented tea. And of course, black tea is actually an oxidized tea, as we've covered in our previous videos. But let's talk about fermentation in the context of kombucha.
Yeah, so there's a lot of definitions of fermentation out there, and some are more broad and some are more narrow. But yeah, the way I think is useful to define it is creating an environment to allow certain microorganisms to grow over others. So in the case of kombucha, it's trying to get that acetic acid bacteria to grow as best as possible. And the environment that's best for that is a aerobic one, where we allow oxygen to enter and it being slightly warm. So as I said, maybe 25 to 30 degrees is optimal.
Wow. It really is a live product, kombucha.
Yes.
Okay, so we were really excited to have this like big conversation. We knew that we'd probably hopefully get more than one video out of it. So this will be part one. And then in a couple of weeks' time, I will put up a second part.
Yeah.
We're gonna go even deeper into more questions because we could talk about this for ages. It's really, really interesting.
But between the two parts, do feel free to come here to Spry or downstairs to Ante to try the kombuchas. They are honestly delicious, and the variety and the craftsmanship is just wonderful.
Yeah, we're gonna film a second part, but we want to say thank you to James, obviously, for having us and talking. You will see us in a couple weeks' time.
Thanks very much for watching.
Thank you.